Hi everybody, my name's Gary and welcome to another Run for the Hills bonus show. Today we're going to have a chat with Craig Downs. Craig is a founder and CEO of MYMO. Now what is MYMO? Basically it's an interesting bit of tech that offers runners their own personal gait analysis. It's also got an app too, and that has some really cool features for runners. I think that's about it. So let's get straight into our chat with Craig from MYMO. I'd just like to welcome Craig Downs to the show. Now, Craig has developed a product called MYMO. MYMO is a bit of a wearable tech that analyzes your gait. I think that's correct. And there's also an app with the MYMO product, which you can download on, I think, on ISO and probably Google devices too, or sorry, is it Android devices too? And the app basically has lots of features that will support runners too. Now, that's my basic overview of the product, Craig. But yeah, if you could go into a bit more depth about what MYMO actually is.
Yeah, morning, Gary. How are you doing?
Thanks. Yourself?
Good. Yeah, good. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, MYMO's it's been in the making for about 4 years, and finally got it to market last October. And probably wasn't really planned that we were going to launch a new product in the middle of a pandemic. But hey ho, that's the kind of world that we're living in at the moment. But yeah, you're right. It's a little wearable tech which is aimed at runners. It's basically what it does is it measures a runner's gait. So what it does is it collects the key characteristics of your gait when you're running. So it looks at your foot strike pattern, it looks at pronation, and it looks at contact time, and those are the key metrics that we collect. And then what happens is that data is then pushed into the cloud, the magic cloud, and there's an algorithm which kind of grabs all that raw data and scrambles it up. And what it does is it processes the information and it matches your running style to guide you to buying the correct type of shoe. And when I say the correct type of shoe, what I mean is whether you need a support shoe, whether you need a neutral shoe. Okay. But it also gives that key gait data to the customer. So it tells you, what your foot strike pattern is, your degree of pronation on both feet, and also your contact time. And we've developed alongside the actual device itself, we've also developed, like you say, we've developed the app, which is available on Apple and Google. It's free to download, and what you do is everything's done within the app. So you connect the sensor to your phone via your Bluetooth, and everything's just, all the instructions are in the app. It guides you to how you carry out a test. And the good thing is, as well, as you can actually store all your gait tests in the app. So you can do a test, and then maybe 3 or 6 months down the line you might do another test, and you can compare. And it's always useful to have that information to hand, because if let's say 6 months down the line you develop an injury, your gait can and does change. If you've had an injury, and that's really the sort of the nuts and bolts of it, really.
Why this app?
Well, it's a good question. It's a question I get asked all the time, but I think there's the options available are you could go into a local running store and have a gait assessment. The other end of the spectrum is if you've got issues or niggles further up the chain, like your hips or something like that, you might go pay for a full biomechanical assessment. Yeah. What MYMO does is it sort of positions it in the middle of that. And the reason why I came up with the idea is that with the technology that we've got available to us these days, why do you have to go into a store to have a gait assessment? Why can't you do that in the comfort of your own environment? And also to have that freedom to be able to search for shoes yourself. So when you go into a store, they obviously there's various different ways that a gait assessment's undertaken. So some stores will put you on a treadmill, some will just watch you, with the naked eye, and it is based on experience and their knowledge. Whereas with this as a digital product that you put onto your foot, you'll run in your own natural environment without being observed, because I think sometimes as well when you're being observed you do sort of run differently. I mean, I do when coaches are watching you do tend to run differently. So it's just to come up with that idea where you can actually do it anytime, anywhere, in the comfort of your own environment. And when I say the own environment, it could be on your treadmill in the garage, it could be in the gym, it could be in the car park at work, it could be down the park. It could be on the running track. So you can take that product anywhere you want, and you can do the gait assessment anytime. And we're constantly updating the database of shoes. So as new shoes become available, we're uploading them. Now, the shoes that are uploaded onto the system are we're trying to put all the latest shoes on there. So one of our values is to be completely independent and impartial. So we're not incentivized by any of the brands to push a particular brand to a customer. Okay. So once you've done your test, that then presents you with a list of shoes that are suitable for you. So for example, in your case would be male shoes, and I think you said when you did the test it was support, so it would show you all the support shoes that are available. Yeah. Then you have a filter where you can then filter that database. So you might say, look, I'm only interested in in spending, I don't want to spend anything more than £80. Or you might be looking for a specific shoe that's maybe a lightweight shoe, a lightweight sport shoe, or you might have something that's a little bit more not complex in terms of you might want a lightweight middle distance shoe with a minimum heel drop of 8 mil, for example. Yeah, okay. Again, you can filter the database and it would show you all the shoes that are available. Where you buy the shoes is entirely up to you. Still encourage you to go into your local store and buy the shoes, because obviously there is, like you say, you can try them on. But at least if you've done the test, you know what shoes that you're looking to buy. You could either buy online or you could go into a local running store and try them on and decide if you want to buy them from there.
Oh, excellent. So it doesn't. So you get presented with the list, but it doesn't then have a link through to say an online retail shop. It's just the information, and you decide where you purchase the product from. That's
right. Yeah. So we're given that flexibility to the customer to be able to do that search themselves. It's also useful that, say for example, if you're shopping one Saturday afternoon and you pop into a sports shop, and you see a really good deal, you might think, well, actually, would that shoe be suitable for me? And this is where people fall down, because they'll see an offer, they'll think, oh, that's just great, I'll buy it, and then they'll realise that it's actually probably the wrong shoe. Yeah. So all you do is just get your phone out, log onto the app. You can type in that shoe into the database and it'll tell you whether it's suitable for you or not. Obviously, if it's on the database, there's thousands of shoes out there. And I think this is another thing that I've tried to, the reason why I've brought MYMO to market is it is confusing. There are there's lots of brands bringing out lots of new technologies in the shoes, lots of different models. Models are being constantly updated all the time. What's the difference between, let's just say, the 19 version compared to the 20? What have they put into that shoe that's different to the previous version? So all that's in the app as well. So we do descriptions on what updates have been made to that particular shoe to help the customer, to obviously just to guide them to buying the right shoe for them.
Yeah, that's interesting. If we go back a little bit, you were talking about the different scenarios where you can carry out the test. When I did the test, I was so obsessed with finding a minute of straight road that I found it quite problematic, especially where I live. And you mentioned possibly on a track. So is it possible to do it? Not necessarily on a sharp 90-degree bend, but if you had to say a curve on a track, would the device still give you an accurate reading on that?
Yeah, the algorithm's been programmed to take out the turns. So we acknowledge that it is difficult to find a straight road, and everybody's different. Everybody runs differently. There'll be some who are faster than others. So it's trying to find that. The best to get the most accurate measurement is to find a long, smooth, flat surface. Yeah. And generally you probably will find something somewhere. But you're right, is that you obviously you have to do the test barefoot, and I'll come on to that in a second. But you have to find a long, smooth, flat surface. So a running track would be suitable, and it would take out those bends. You know, if you find somewhere that's just recently been resurfaced, like a tarmac or a road that's just been resurfaced, so there's not too many loose stones that's going to hurt your foot. Yeah. So I know it is difficult, but the reason why we ask you to do it barefoot, and we did a lot of research into this, obviously, while we were developing the product. To get the most natural measurement of your gait, we ask you to do it barefoot. So if you go into a running shop, sometimes they'll ask you to put on a neutral shoe, but even wearing a neutral shoe is going to give you an element of support, because they might give you a neutral shoe with a 10mm heel drop, for example. The questions that we've been presented with from those who are obviously experienced runners and those who work in shops are, well, if you heel strike and you're running barefoot, you can't heel strike running barefoot, but you can, because we've got the evidence to prove that. We've done the research, we've done testing with over 400 runners.
I think I did.
Yeah, so there you go. So we know that you can actually, if you're a heel strike, you can still heel strike running barefoot. I think their argument is that running barefoot propels you forward, so say for example, if you heel strike, you're more likely to be midfoot to forefoot, or again, if you're midfoot strike, you're more likely to be forefoot. But actually the research, and we've had quite a lot of product reviewers, you know, we've sent samples out to various different people to test this, and again, they've, you know, like yourself, are maybe heel strike, and it's proven that you can actually heel strike. So, and I think the reason why we do it for a minute is that, so when you start the test, once you've made the sensor connects to your phone, it asks you to stand still for 10 seconds. Now, the reason why is just so that the sensor can calibrate, and then you run for 50 seconds. And like I said before, you just run as naturally as possible. And yeah, if you have to make some turns running up and down the street, the algorithm will take the turns out. It recognizes that. So you do the test, the sensor is on one foot, you complete that 1 minute's test, you then put the sensor on your other foot, and you do the same test on the other foot. And when you buy the MYMO, you get a little sock, it's like a little support sock.
Have you got one to show our?
I haven't got one on me. I've got a sensor, but I haven't actually got the sock. There's the little sensor. But on the top of the sock is a little pocket, and
I've got a sock.
Yeah, so the sensor sits into the top of the sock there, and the reason why is that it has to sit on in a particular position on the foot. Yeah. Which is called a talus joint. So the sensor goes into the little pocket. And then it obviously keeps it secure within while you're running. So you'll just pull that little MYMO neoprene sock over your existing running socks. Yeah. And then you go for a run. So that's how you undertake the test.
Excellent. And what about our audience are predominantly trail runners in the shoe selection choice? Is that something that it would present you with too, or is that something maybe in the future that's coming with MYMO?
Yeah, so at the moment, it's road running shoes that the Gait assessment will link to the different types of road shoes, because there's neutral, there's different, you know, support motion control shoes. When we launched, we had a lot of feedback from trail runners saying, why haven't you got trail shoes on here? So we've put trail shoes on there. So when you do the filter, you can actually filter, and it sort of switches to trail shoes. Now, it's not linked to your Gait, because obviously with trail shoes, it's not based on this, you know, whether you support or whether you're neutral. It's based on the type of trail that you're going to run on, and obviously there's a lot of different features on a trail shoe that are different to normal road shoes. So again, we've taken that into consideration. So yes, there are trail shoes on the system, and again, we've got a huge range of choice that you could search for.
And what's the cost? For the unit, and then I know the app you said is free to download. I'm not too sure if you get some features for free or you have to pay for, say, the other services. Yeah, if you could share with us that side of stuff.
Yeah. So the product's $39.99, and it's free postage. So for that, you get the sensor, you get the sock. You download the app for free, like say in Apple or iOS, and when you buy it, you'll get 1 month's free subscription to a service called MYMO Plus, which is what we've also built into the app. Now, the feedback again from customers was that it would be nice to have some added value features in there that would help runners. So what we've put in there is we've got a weekly Pilates class. Now that's delivered by an experienced instructor, and it's specifically tailored for runners. So it's targeting all those key muscle groups that we need to keep on top of. We've got a sports therapist on there who is providing advice, talking about typical injuries that we get as runners, what are the signs to look out for, how he would normally treat that injury in his clinic, some of the exercises that he would give a patient to do at home. So if you feel like, I've got a bit of a niggle in my calf or IT band or whatever, plantar fasciitis, there's exercises in there, there's videos which guides you. So that's in there. We've also got an experienced coach, so we also had feedback from customers saying, well, it would be good to get a personalized training plan. So we've got an experienced athletics coach who, if your target's 5K or a 10K or half marathon, he'll work with you to develop a tailored plan.
Okay.
So all that's built into the app. Now that's £3.95 per month in addition. So the $39.99 is a one-off cost, and you get 1 month's free to trial to access MYMO Plus. And then after the free trial, you can either just cancel the subscription, or you can carry on, and it's $3.95. I mean, I was going to Pilates classes, and I was paying £8 a week for a class. And it was great, but it wasn't. It was just a generic Pilates class, whereas this is specific to runners, and the whole added value content is £3.95 a month. So it is good value for money. And again, we had good feedback from customers that it is value for money, and the content in there is good. So
that's a weekly updated class with the Pilates.
Weekly updated. Every Tuesday a new class goes up there. I think we're on to about 24 weeks at the minute, and we've started it. We've got it at various different abilities as well. So it starts at beginners, it works through to intermediate, and then advanced. So you could follow a program. We've also got a sports physio who's actually doing sort of workout sessions that you can just follow. So if it's say a class that's specifically around hamstrings or glutes or mobility, that's all in there as well, and all that's all included in the $3.95 as well.
Excellent. Oh, that sounds brilliant. You mentioned about algorithms and all this kind of stuff with the device. How did you carry out the research, and how accurate is it? Have you got that kind of information? I suppose that's what people want to know.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be easy for a commercial organisation to go to market and say it works because we've tested it on 400 runners. But for me, that wasn't good enough. And one of the things that I did right at the very beginning of the project is, I'm a runner. My background is PR and marketing. I'm not a specialist in algorithms and gait and biomechanics. So what I did was I brought in a team of specialists. So I brought in somebody who specializes in gait, somebody who specializes in biomechanics, and we ended up applying for this project, for some funding for this project that enabled small businesses to collaborate with university. So we were successful, and we were introduced to Northumbria University, and they have tested the artificial intelligence algorithm. So what we did was we collected the raw data with the 400 runners. And we had our experts to visualize that runner and how they would label that data. So for example, somebody runs on a treadmill. We had cameras all set up from the side, behind, in the front. They wore the MYMO sensor. We were collecting the data during that period of time. The experts labeled that data, so it's as if they were in a store and they were saying, well, actually, that person on the left is a neutral, on the right-hand side, their foot slightly pronates, for example. Therefore, I would recommend a neutral shoe. That data was labeled, then that data was then sent to the university and it was processed. And it's called machine learning, so it's putting all that data into a machine and teaching it what a foot strike looks like, what pronation looks like, what supination looks like, what neutral looks like. And then the artificial intelligence algorithm then compares that data with other customers, other data profiles. And eventually what happens is they run that test, or they run numerous tests that keep feeding data into the machine. And then what happens is it gives them an accuracy.
Okay.
It gives them an accuracy. So, and because we've worked with the university, the condition was that they would publish a research paper as to how they actually approached this and how they delivered it. And the accuracy is currently performing at 94.6% for shoe recommendation. Okay. And they've published that paper, and that's in the open, that's in the public domain. And I think that gives us a little bit more credibility. Yeah. That we've gone to market and we're saying, well, actually, it is accurate because we've done all the right testing. We've worked with the experts. They've published the paper, and this is how they've actually approached it. And so for us to have that confidence, but I think it also gives the customer confidence that actually what they're buying is a product that it does actually work. You know, it's digital, it's accurate. You know, we're not just, like I said at the beginning, we're not just a company that's saying, well, actually, yeah, it works because, you know, we've tested it on all these runners. Yeah. So that's how we approached it. So, and we're still working with the university, so we're constantly improving and developing the accuracy of the algorithm, because we know that, you know, 94.6% is great, but we obviously want to get even better. Yeah. And we're also introducing new metrics as well. So we're looking at things like swing time. We were also considering step length and various other metrics. We can't capture cadence because the actual test is only 50 seconds. Yeah. But it might be something that we introduce further down the line. So we are constantly looking at how we're going to improve the actual product and the algorithm as well, and the data that we're giving to customers and what data it is that they want to see.
And what would you say? I think this might apply to me. I was advised, and I've been advised by a running shop and the app to buy a more structured shoe, but I've always historically went for a neutral shoe. Would you say, well? And I suppose for myself personally, probably 90% of my running is on the trails, apart from specific workouts or maybe a marathon every now and again. Would you say if it's not broke, don't fix it? Is that a kind of a safe attitude to adopt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hear it all the time, don't you? You hear runners who will say, oh, somebody brought out a new shoe. I bought them and I ended up getting injured. Yeah. Why did I change? You know, if it's not broke, if it's, you know, you've just, why change if you found something that works, you know, why change? Yeah. But what I think with MYMO, it's not just about recommending the shoes, it's giving you that Gait data. So if you go into a shop, there's not many stores where you'll go in, you'll do the assessment, but then you've actually got a record of that data.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so, and I think that is, you know, as runners, we love data. And if we can look at making slight improvements, it may, you know, improve our times, for example, and our performance. And, you know, some runners, experienced runners, have bought MYMO to look at how they can transition. So they're looking at, maybe they've been a midfoot striker, but they're looking at transition into forefoot. So it's more, for them, it's more efficient. So there's that side of it. And the other side with MYMO is we're constantly bringing out, you know, adding new shoes to the database all the time. So it's keeping up with those trends, you know, it's keeping up with the manufacturers. I guess I sort of explain we're the middle person. You've got all these runners on one side, and you've got all these manufacturers bringing out these new shoes, and they're pushing them out directly to consumers, but there's nothing in the middle. And I think MYMO sort of is that, you know, that middle person who's kind of giving that Gait data to the customer, but, you know, sharing those new shoe releases to the customers. So
that sounds excellent. Well, where can people find out more about MYMO? Do you have a website or a social media presence?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're on social media, and it's at MYMO Running. On the website, you can buy online, so it's just www.mymo.co.uk, which is MYMO, and we're also on Amazon as well. But if you buy on Amazon, you don't get a free month's trial. It's just the way Amazon's set up. You just buy the product. So if you buy it online, from our website, you'll get the free trial for the MYMO Plus. Yeah. And MYMO stands for My Motion. It's nothing to do with Mo Farah, because I get asked that all the time. Yeah. It's about my motion, and it's about you as a person, as an individual, because everybody's gait is different. And it's about understanding your motion, how you run and how you move. So that's what it stands for, MYMO, if anybody asks. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Craig. You know, I love a bit of tech and a little bit of data too, so I'm really interested in the product. I'm pretty sure our listeners and watchers over on YouTube will do too. Brilliant. Thanks for your time, Craig.
Thanks for having us on, Gary. Cheers.
Thanks, Craig. I really enjoyed that. Really interesting bit of kit. I hope our listeners enjoyed it too. If you did, yeah, please share, like, and subscribe. Also, leave a 5-star review over on YouTube. That would be awesome. I think that's about it. You take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.